Once, in a faraway country in the middle of Asia, there was a man who worked really hard as a farmer. Even though the place he lived wasn't the best, and things were always changing around him, he was doing okay. He loved his farm and worked hard every day. But then, something strange started happening. His farm kept getting stolen from. People would take his crops, and sometimes his animals would disappear. It made him feel awful. He couldn't understand why it was happening. Soon, he decided he needed to leave the place he had lived all his life. It was just too dangerous, and he wanted to find a place where he could be safe and happy. So, after a long time, he moved to a new place, a quiet village far away, hoping it would be better. At first, it seemed like things might get better. He woke up early every morning, worked hard on his farm, and tried to stay busy. But even though the place was peaceful, his mind wasn't. Sometimes, he would get so sad that he didn't feel like doing anything. Other times, he'd get so angry, he couldn't calm down. His emotions were all over the place, and he didn't know how to control them. It was like he couldn't stop feeling upset, even when he wanted to. Then one day, something terrible happened. He woke up to see his farm was on fire. It had been burned down by people he didn't know. His heart sank. He couldn't believe it. He thought, I have nothing left. Maybe I should just give up. It felt like everything was over. But as he stood there, feeling hopeless, he saw an old man standing nearby. The man wasn't upset at all. He just smiled, like he wasn't surprised by what had happened. The man had a peaceful energy about him, something the farmer didn't understand. A few weeks later, the farmer was still upset. He couldn't stop thinking about how his farm had been destroyed and how his emotions were controlling him. That's when the old man came to him again. The old man told him, "Come with me. I want to show you something that can help you." The farmer was curious, so he followed. They walked up mountains and across valleys, going to a place far away where the air felt fresh and clear. Along the way, the farmer asked, "Why didn't you help me when my farm burned down? Why were you so calm?" The old man smiled and said, "That wasn't my problem to fix. I didn't need to help you because I wanted to teach you something more important." He mentioned for the farmer to follow him. He didn't speak as they walked, but led the way through the village and into the forest. They walked for a long time until they reached the foot of a tall mountain. The old man pointed to the mountaintop and then started climbing slowly, as if he had done this many times before. The farmer hesitated but followed him up the mountain. The air got colder, the path steeper, and the climb harder. As they reached the top, the old man stopped and pointed to a small pool of water. The farmer looked at the water and noticed that, despite the wind blowing and the trees rustling around them, the water in the pool was perfectly still. "Look at the water," the old man said. "Even though the wind is blowing and the trees are moving, the water remains calm." The farmer stared at the water, unsure of what he was supposed to see. "It's still, but what does that mean?" The old man smiled softly. "When your mind is calm, like the water, nothing can disturb it. The winds, the storms of life, they come and go. But if your mind is like the water in this pool, nothing can truly shake you. You are not the storm, you are the stillness beneath it." The farmer looked at the water for a long time, thinking deeply. But then he turned to the old man and said, "I understand, but how can I be like the water? How can I stay calm when everything around me is falling apart?" The old man smiled again. "If you want to become like calm water, you have to train your mind. You have to practice staying calm, even when things get tough. The best way to do this is to spend time learning how to control your thoughts and your emotions. It's not something that happens overnight, but with patience and practice, you can become stronger than your emotions." The farmer listened carefully, but he was still uncertain. It was hard to imagine how he could ever stay calm after everything that had happened. But over the next few days, he decided to stay with the old man and learn more. Every morning, he watched as the old man woke up early, stood in silence, and gazed at the rising sun. The old man seemed completely at peace, his mind focused on the present moment. The farmer, on the other hand, couldn't let go of what had happened to his farm. His mind kept racing. His farm was raided again and again, and every time he felt the weight of failure, of helplessness. It felt like he was stuck in a loop of frustration and despair, and he didn't know how to handle it. But each day, the old man would smile and remain peaceful. He didn't get upset, no matter what. It was as if he understood something the farmer didn't. Slowly, the farmer began to realize that the old man wasn't ignoring the world around him or pretending that bad things didn't happen. No. Instead, the old man had learned to accept that life would bring storms, things he couldn't control, and he knew that he didn't have to be swept away by them. The farmer began to think deeply about this.
He spent hours working, but he stopped trying to control everything. Instead of feeling angry or sad every time something went wrong, he started to focus on the work itself, staying present in the moment. He stopped chasing happiness, success, or even the idea that things should always be good. In those moments when he stopped trying to force things and simply worked as best as he could, he felt a shift inside him. It was like he was becoming more connected to the work itself, not to the outcomes. And it wasn't easy either. There were days when he felt defeated, like he wanted to give up. But he didn't let those feelings stop him. He would pause, take a deep breath, and keep moving forward. It wasn't about winning every time. It was about doing his best and staying focused no matter what happened. As the days went on, something started to change in the farmer. He began to realize that the way he was seeing his challenges was the problem, not the challenges themselves. When his farm was raided again, he didn't get upset or angry. He simply took a moment, felt the frustration, and then let it go. He accepted that some things were out of his control, and that was okay. Instead of dwelling on what was lost, he focused on what he could still do. Rebuild, work harder, and stay present. And it wasn't just his work that changed. He started to feel stronger in himself. He could work longer hours, sit in stillness without feeling restless, and face every setback with a calm that he never thought possible. His mind had become like water, able to flow with the changes, unaffected by the winds of life. Each time his farm was raided, he simply got back up, rebuilt, and moved on. It wasn't perfect, and sometimes it still hurt. But he knew that nothing in life could truly break him if he didn't let it. One day, as he worked in the fields, he looked up and saw the old man watching him from a distance. The farmer smiled to himself, feeling a sense of peace and strength he had never known before. The old man's teachings had transformed him. He had stopped being controlled by his emotions, and instead, he had learned to be the stillness beneath the storm.
Here's the thing. Life is full of things you can't control. Just like the farmer, you might face setbacks, things that frustrate you, or moments when you feel like giving up. You might not always feel motivated to work hard because it feels like nothing ever changes, or that you're just going to be let down again. And sometimes you might get caught in your emotions, feeling angry or sad, and it seems like they take over. But here's the secret the farmer learned. You don't have to let those feelings control you. Like the farmer, you can choose to become present with what is happening right now. Instead of chasing happiness or worrying about the future, you can find peace in the moment, in the work, and in your own actions. And when things go wrong, instead of letting frustration or depression stop you, you can learn to simply let go of what you can't control and focus on what you can control. Your efforts, your actions, your choices. So when the storms of life come, and they will, don't let them knock you down. You don't have to react immediately to every emotion or problem that comes your way. Instead, pause, breathe, and remind yourself. You're like the water. The wind may blow, the rain may fall, but if you stay calm, you can move through it unshaken. Life won't always be easy. Sometimes you'll feel defeated, unmotivated, or afraid, but don't let that stop you. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to keep going, keep working, and keep focusing on the present. And just like the farmer, you'll find that over time, nothing will be able to stop you. Become the calm in your own storm. Let this lesson remind you that no matter how strong the winds get, you are the still water.